Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer by tackling a really fundamental question. The source material here reveals an absolute core secret of language mastery. Seriously, if you've ever felt, kind of stuck at that intermediate level, wondering how native speakers just effortlessly convey these incredibly complex ideas about time, possibility, and obligation without even taking a breath, well, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to completely decode the actual engine of the English sentence.
So here's a really surprising insight from the text. The secret is absolutely not about memorizing more obscure vocabulary. It's not about sounding smart by using the biggest, most complicated words you can find in the dictionary. It's actually about mastering how your everyday verbs work together. Like, a good speaker can tell you what happened, but a C1 master, they can tell you what might have been happening before something else should have occurred. That incredible level of nuance comes entirely from the mechanics of your verbs.
But before we get to that C1 level, we need to actually define what we're talking about. A verb phrase acts as a single, powerful grammatical unit. Think of it like a sports team. You don't just have one player running around the field by themselves. You have a highly coordinated squad where every single word has a highly specific job. Together, they do the heavy lifting for your clause, dictating the tense, the mood, and the action all at the exact same time.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet the verb phrase, then we'll break down the anatomy of the phrase, look at the 7 phrase types, dive into C1 level advanced patterns, and finally, wrap up by avoiding common mistakes.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Meet the Verb Phrase.
To really get this, we have to compare a simple, naked verb with a final boss level verb phrase. The word run gets the job done. It's great, it's fine, but it's basic. Now think about the phrase should have been running. In just 4 words, we've established a strong recommendation, or maybe a regret. That's the should. We've placed it squarely in the past with have, and we've indicated an ongoing continuous action with been running. I mean, that is a massive amount of data packed into one single phrase.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of the Phrase.
Think of this as the organizational chart for your sentence. At the very end of the line, you have the main verb. The material cleverly describes this main verb as the anchor, or the head boss. It carries the actual meaning, words like run, speak, or work. But here's the thing. The head boss rarely works alone at the C1 level. It's usually preceded by its helping hands. You might have a modal, followed by 1, or sometimes even 2 auxiliaries. They basically set up the exact conditions for the head boss to do its job perfectly.
So the crucial takeaway here is that we have 2 totally different types of sidekicks. We have primary auxiliaries that handle time, and modals that handle possibility and obligation. The primary ones, be, have, and do, are basically the mechanics of tense. They tell us exactly when things happen and if they are still ongoing. Meanwhile, the modal auxiliaries, like can, might, and must, they add the flavor. They tell us all about ability, permission, or necessity. Mixing these 2 distinct groups together, that's exactly where the magic happens.
Let's see that magic in action in Section 3, the 7 phrase types. We start off simple with just the main verb in Step 1, she runs. Then, in Step 2, we bring in a primary auxiliary to show an ongoing action. She is reading. Boom, we've just locked the action right into the present moment. In Step 3, we swap that out for a modal to show ability. He can drive. These are your everyday building blocks. Honestly, they are the foundational phrases you'd likely use all day, every day, without even thinking twice about it.
But when we look at continuous and perfect continuous phrases, we can literally map the grammar directly to the passage of time. If an action started in the past and got interrupted, you had been waiting. If it started in the past and you're actually still doing it right now, you have been waiting. And if you want to project yourself into the future, looking back at an ongoing action, you will have been living. This timeline control is pure C1 mastery. It literally allows you to time travel with your listener.
Rounding out our 7 types, we've got perfect phrases for completed actions, like has finished, which uses have plus a past participle. And finally, we have passive phrases for when the subject receives the action, like was built. Instead of saying Rome built the bridge, you say the bridge was built. This cleverly shifts the spotlight right off the doer and directly onto the action itself. It's a hugely common technique in academic and professional English.
Now for the really fun stuff. Section 4, C1 level advanced patterns.
By stacking these building blocks, some highly nuanced patterns start to emerge. By pairing a modal, the word have, and a past participle, like should have studied, we can frame a past action with a very present sense of regret. Or take will be working, which pairs a modal, be, and a present participle. That paints such a vivid picture of someone right in the middle of a continuous action at a very specific future moment. It's incredibly precise.
Notice how a phrase like have been investigating perfectly captures an action that started way in the past and is still powerfully relevant today. If you just say the researchers investigated, well, it kind of sounds like they finished up and went home, right? But have been investigating tells the listener that this is an active, ongoing, relentless pursuit. It adds real weight and authority to the entire sentence.
And this beautifully demonstrates the future perfect, locking in a completed action before a specific future deadline. The phrase will have completed contains a modal, will, the auxiliary have, and the main verb completed. When you use this structure, you just sound incredibly organized and forward-thinking. It's an absolute favorite in boardrooms, project management, and academic planning for a reason.
Of course, it's not always smooth sailing. Let's head into Section 5, Avoiding Common Mistakes. Okay, a big rule here, you can't mix the be auxiliary with a bear base verb. It absolutely needs that ing sidekick to function continuously. The word is sets up a clear expectation of an ongoing action, so your main verb needs to be properly dressed for the occasion. Never leave your main verb bare when it follows a form of to be that's meant for continuous action. It is always, is studying.
Here's another trap. Modals are strong, independent sidekicks. That means they connect directly to the main verb without ever needing the word to in between. This is a massive stumbling block for learners coming from languages where infinitives are the default. Modals like can, must, should, and might completely reject the to. They stand right next to the head boss. He can swim. Clean, direct, correct. No to required. And for a passive phrase, your be auxiliary demands a past participle, not just a base word or an adjective trying to moonlight as a verb. Saying it was completed ensures that the action is properly anchored in time. The subject, the work, is receiving the action of being finished. Getting this right immediately elevates your written English, especially when you're drafting professional reports.
The real takeaway here is that these aren't just random, confusing clusters of words to memorize. They are precise engineering tools for your sentences. When you actually understand the anatomy, how the modals and auxiliaries stack up in front of your main verb, you gain total, absolute control over the tone, the timing, and the perspective of everything you say. You stop guessing, and you start engineering your language like a pro.
Just look at this grand finale of a sentence. Will have been teaching uses a modal, two auxiliaries, and a main verb to perfectly express this massive concept of time and ongoing action. Just let that phrase sink in for a second. It looks into the future, it looks back into the past, it calculates a 20-year duration, and it confirms the action is still happening. 4 words doing the work of an entire paragraph. That is the absolute beauty of advanced verb phrases.
So, the next time you sit down to write an important email or give a presentation, ask yourself, are you just stating flat facts, or are you actively engineering time, perspective, and authority into your sentences? It really makes you wonder, what other incredible linguistic tools might we be underutilizing every single day? Until next time, keep analyzing, keep experimenting, and keep exploring.